Hello. The other day I injured my back and I went on YouTube and got some exercises to do, and that provided some relief and I felt better. And then that came to my mind, this question: that is there exercises for electronic musicians? If you're playing piano, if you're playing guitar or anything acoustics, then of course you have to practice, because if you want to have your hands using your instrument and have maximum expressivity, you need to play and play and play. That will provide with ease, and eventually you'll be able to play exactly what you want and how you want it. But for electronic music, where everything is, with plugins, automized, and it makes it easy for you to achieve certain things, like what do we actually practice? Most of the people that go to the studio make tracks. That's their obsession. And the people I work with, they want to know how to make tracks. They want to know how to make better tracks. They want to know how to make a track like that guy, and they want to make a track to be played by that DJ, and so on. This obsession about making tracks is sort of the direction that a lot of people are trying to achieve, and therefore all the tutorials and all the help that you get on YouTube is mostly organized around people that want to achieve tracks. So you'll get arrangement tutorials and how to make a track like that artist and how to achieve this effect into this track to be part of that genre. And that in itself is a form of practice, and it's a form of understanding how things are made, which is a type of exercise. But is there something that is an exercise to shape your creativity without any agenda whatsoever, without trying to do anything in particular? Well, I haven't found many. There are some, but not that much. And I thought I would be sharing a few exercises that I do myself and I give to people that work with me. And those exercises don't have any specific goals besides one, to do something else than making tracks once in your studio. So there are some principles that I apply when I make music. And the first, which if you've been following me, you might have heard already, which is my principle one: making music is not always about making tracks. To me, tracks are stories. If I would be a poet and I would be playing folk music, I would write stories about my life and how I find certain moments of my life difficult and how certain things are interesting in captivating me, and I would write poems about that and I would sing that. But I don't sing. And so when I make electronic music, what am I going to do is I'm going to expose sounds. Where do these sounds come from? Well, they come from experiments and they come from exploration. And these explorations are achieved when? Yeah, you guessed it, when I do exercises. When I do my exercises, I record everything. And so the agenda, or the soft agenda, should I say, is not to achieve tracks, but basically compile moments, things that I love. I don't see myself as a musician. I feel like I am a curator of ideas that I love within different concepts. Imagine I make a techno track. Well, I'm the curator of that sound from that synth and that idea that I've heard into another song, and I combine that and make my own, and eventually through that I personalize to make it something that I feel is closer to how I perceive this. And of course, if I make something that makes me feel excited, I feel like I've accomplished music that capture an emotion. So it's weird to say, but when I make a song, it's not the time to create an experiment. It's not the time to start noodling with the synth to find the perfect thing. So, yes, of course, sometimes I'll do that, but I usually want to modulate my phases of making a song. And when I make a song, it's like a chef. I just assemble things that have been prepared independently. So if you work in a kitchen, you'll know that you have one station for a certain vegetable, one station for protein, one station for sauce, and the chef is going to combine them and do the presentation. And that's pretty much how I see myself when I make music. I try to combine different things that I've done into another session. So exercises are essential to capture ideas. In this video, I will share some exercises that I do and I give to artists, and hopefully some will be interesting to you enough so that you can practice. The idea is to do it in a way that it generates content that you would not do when you would go to the studio. You record that and then you use that into a future session of yours. And of course, the exercise itself is not rigid. I invite you to kind of play with it and reshape it and customize it to your taste. And of course, if you make a better version or more personal version of an exercise, then please share it. I would love to know how you do things. So let's jump right in. The first technique that I'm going to show you is inspired by Sarah Bell Reed, who I participated in her class, and it's a technique that I call the two-finger technique. Basically what it is, it's about being physical with your music. The physicality of sound is crucial to make sound that is coming out of you. If you only make music with your mouse, there's only one parameter at a time that you're going to be able to control. And sometimes if you want to have two, you will have to pre-record the automation and then do a second pass. But the principle of doing the two finger technique is you're going to start with mapping two parameters on a controller, such as this one is the Launch Control XL. And I'm using it in the user mode, and I'm using the fader because the two finger is just these two fingers are going to control one parameter each. And so simply enough, I'm going to start by mapping these two, one on the frequency here, that's going to be that one, and the other one on the resonance like this. And I'm using a second one here, which is just controlling the volume of this texture that's playing. So I'm going to demonstrate what I'm going to do. And basically, the principle is to play with the two knobs and see the interaction that you can do. And all these different textures that you can create with these two knobs will generate sounds that you didn't really even know you could do if, of course, if you're just using a mouse. All right, so let's dive right in. The key here is to do a movement, listen how it sounds, and then do an adjustment and do a second movement. And you have to think that how does my first finger react to the movement of the second one? The interaction of both generate a sound. And here what we hear is just it creates this tone. And by simply moving a little bit at a time and paying attention, I discover these elements that are just simply beautiful. Where it gets pretty exciting is when you start playing with this principle, but with modulation. So I'm going to modulate two other faders, and this one on the LFO here, just the amount, and this one on the rate. And now I'm going to have four elements that I can modulate and I can play with. So let's do this again. As you notice, this is far more exciting because we are interacting with something that is a modulation. So if you're interacting with something that has its own speed, but you control the speed, you can create the interaction and you can just play. It starts going fast, and then you control how much of that do you want to control. And that alone is a very simple thing, but when you go to the studio and you're only obsessed about making songs, the issue is you're disconnected from your tools and you don't spend a moment just being very close to what you do and how they actually really work, and how by moving your hands you're actually playing with these things. So now we have four elements that we can play with, and this is going to be the last segment. And for that, what I would do is I would record the output of that on a specific channel, and we are going to have a texture. We're going to have like a moment. Whenever I play sounds or I do experiment, my goal is to record at least 2 minutes, ideally more than that, but 2 minutes is usually far enough. This falls into a category of song that I call miniatures. Miniatures is something that was presented in a YouTuber that I follow, Monotrail, that I shout out to him because he's actually super good. And miniatures is a concept that is also kind of discussed with Sarah Bell Reed. It's about taking one sound and try to find what's the story behind that sound. How does a sound evolve in time? What is the space I can give to that sound alone? And in a time where we try to do five different things at once, to stop and really focus on this gives a different sense to a sound. Something that was on first glance pretty boring and linear all of a sudden become full of life. And that's what you want to capture when you do your recording. So let's give this a shot. As you see, I only do two elements at a time, and I take also my time to do slow modulation. I could go fast, I could just be playing and try to modulate something by hand as if my hand was an elephant in its own. But the concept here is that it's just exploration, but it's about listening, and it's really about connecting with the sound. And this is a very important practice because, as a musician, where my instrument is sound, the tools become an extension of my body, and that's the only way to really kind of shape these into something specific. all these tiny recordings that I have, such as this one, I feel like can be imported in a future project of mine into a song. And if you listen to my music and you have sometimes the impression that there's different textures and different elements just moving around, those are just experiments that I've done beforehand. And part of the pleasure of making a song is to try, what if I invite this sound in this space and see how it evolves? What is this role that it can bring? Is it disrupting the sound that are in place? Is it enhancing? Or is it having a conversation with the different elements that I have? And sometimes, as sound are actors and actors are in a play, I discovered that the sound that I've just recorded, just like right now, and I imported in the sound, all of a sudden it makes sense. Like it didn't make any sense to do this, and maybe for people that are watching this, it just feel maybe laughable. But it's about capturing moments, and these moments that you bring later on make sense. And as a musician, where everything is just sometimes very confusing of why am I doing music, to develop trust that it's okay to not have the answer and to not know if what you're doing right now is useful or not. And have the trust that there's a bigger picture out there that eventually will make sense is one of the pleasure of making music, because the process of making music is in itself insecuring. But once you understand that there's always a bigger story that is being written, but very slowly, then the process of making music is exciting. And that's something that I think we all need as musicians, is to kind of reconnect with the art of making music, just like I connect with the sound that I'm shaping right now in this exercise, which is a two-step technique. And that's it for this exercise. The next exercise that I do is what I call the tree of possibility. The tree of possibility is to not get lost into the zillion, thousand, million sounds and options that I have with my presets, synths, and all the samples that I have. It's really easy and overwhelming to decide like what am I going to do today. The principle of this one is to it sounds like something a bit crazy, but I call that gold digging, or I call that the tree of possibility, in terms of what am I going to find today if I randomize my sound. I'm a big fan of randomization, because randomization is lottery. It's just going to provide you a bunch of results that you don't know what's going to happen, and that's the beauty of it. So what we have here is the same session that we had before. What I did is I imported operator and this amazing patch by Danksauce that I love, which is the random generator. It's something that I've been using quite a lot. Basically, it's what we call a sample and hold. If you are not familiar with sample and hold, the concept is pretty simple. Each time that a note is played on my keyboard, it will generate a random value, and that value can be after that mapped to parameters of operator or an effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that. I'm gonna randomly map some parameters of operator and an effect, and then after that what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a bunch of sounds out of that. And Ableton has this amazing new feature which is called the bounce to audio, and we're going to abuse of it. So let's do this. When I map elements, I'm going to try to map elements that are going to shape the sound all in all. So the first one that I want to really shape is the timbre of the sound. And by doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do quick map, and I'm going to map the levels of the different operators in here. The second one that I want to do is I want to be able to modify the envelope of the sound. So the first thing that I'm going to do is do the attack, and after that I'm going to do the release, and I'm going to do that as well for the second one, but just with the sustain. And that's it for the thanks us. And we're just gonna do a second one, which I'm gonna map the transpose, but not too crazy, because that's gonna be a bit much. Now there's an element that I want to be able to control with this patch, and if you use it like that, it's going to be madness, which, I mean, we love madness, but what we want is the amount here, the amount of randomization. We want to be able to control that, as well as the rise and fall. What is rise and fall? Well, it's how abruptly that you're going to go from one randomization state to the other. If there is a rise and fall, it means that when it is randomized, there's going to be like a slew. It's going to go, it's going to glide to the second parameters. So we're going to map some LFOs to these. And to do that, I'm going to use, actually, I'm going to use more sample and hold. And I'm going to go with Manifest Audio that has the Sample and Hold Pro MIDI that I'm going to use, which is the same logic. It's going to detect a note. So if I just press a note, you'll see that here something is randomized each time. And it sounds pretty drunk, but trust me, we're going to get somewhere with this. So this is going to be, I'm going to have 6 different things that I can randomize. So the first one, I'm going to map it to the amount. And the second one, I'm going to map it to the fall here. And I don't want this to be tied. I want this to map on the fall, and the first one's on the rise. So now if I press this, I know it sounds like RTD2 on acid, but we do love that, at least when we want something a bit wild. So I'm going to do the same thing now, but I'm going to add some effect on this. The effect is what's going to make it more sort of like unpredictable and even a bit more wild. A big fan of a reverb and delay. I feel like reverb and delay is the type of sauce that makes everything sounds and taste beautiful. So we're going to go with a reverb, and I'm going to go with the echo. But this, of course, you could put it to any effect that you want. So there's one thing that I want on this. So I'm going to do quick map. I love the spread here, so I'm going to map that. The second one, I'm going to map it on this. So I'm going to map on that, and then after that, this is going to go on the feedback, and that's going to go on the wet dry, and then this is going to go on the wet dry here, and after that I'm going to go on the decay, and I'm going to go on pre-delay, and the other one I'm going to go on frequency here. It's going to be that, and I think I have a last one. So the last one will go on this. So now we have like a lot of different things being mapped, and after that I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to map this on the amount. I'm going to map this one on the rise and this one on the fall. So now if I so I'm doing long notes, short notes. I could record the output of that, but I'm lazy, so I'm going to show you the fun way to do that. And we're going to get more tree of possibilities. Of course, this can be explored with any synth that you have, and you're going to discover a total different personality of your synths when you do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this magic button, and we have a MIDI clip here. And this MIDI clip has all the notes that I've used. And of course, I'm going to loop this like that. I'm going to add maybe one note here, and then one note like that. Stretch this one. And now, like I said, I'm lazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do copy, and I'm going to come here, and I'm going to do paste bounce audio. And then with this magic new skills that we have that in Ableton, I can just do this multiple times. And each time I'm going to paste it, I'm going to have something different because everything is randomized. So I have no idea what this is going to sound like. So I'm going to solo this. And as you see, it can be quite meditative. But where it gets exciting is to take this one, for instance. I'm going to copy it here and I'm going to solo maybe these 2 bars. And I'm going to come here like that. And then because you have something that is repetitive, it sort of create a hook. And then you have something else that is just moving. And I can do the 2-finger approach where I'm going to be playing. And of course, if you want something a bit more exciting and be a bit more in context, you can get a groove genre, techno, or glitch hop. And I'm going to get percussion and loops. With this groove that I just added, it gives a context of these like completely alien sounds. And of course, in the grand spirit of doing this tree of possibility is this after that can be sliced. You can pick some moments, but let's say I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna loop it, and I'm gonna press play. There's these elements here that makes it quite fun because you can really modulate the sound. I can bring the gain up and I can play with the pitch and discover new texture. And then I can change the warp. I can go with texture and notice if something happens. I can go with repitch. As you see, with the mouse alone, it's not enough. I mean, I can find something and I can just shape envelope in here, but there's something about involving your body in the design that makes it quite special. And when I shape these sounds, I can after that pick them. Let's say I really like this. I'm gonna create a new audio one here. I can go pretty, I mean, I could easily forget that you're here watching me work when I do this because I enjoy this so much that I come in the studio at least once a day to do that kind of experiment of just exploring what sound am I going to find today. And that alone is far more exciting than a lot of things that I do in the studio. Making tracks is something that sort of happen on its own. It's not something that I force. It's just something that come together effortlessly. And the concept of making song for me is not about trying to pursue the perfect song. It's more about exporting many ideas that I find that I love and build this alien sounding playlist of exploration that I have that later on maybe I will like, maybe I will dislike, maybe I will share with some friends that they will include in their DJ sets or podcasts. But all that are things that I don't have any control upon. So it's not really worth just going too crazy about it. What is more important is about capturing ideas that I found on a day like today. So those were two exercises that I do and then I invite people to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record more exercises if you guys like it, and more will come. So thank you for watching.